Alright, so what I wanted to share, part 3 here. I had to do 3 rides. I'm going to do, go in order. There's a whole procedure here. You get a receipt. Every customer we deliver to gets a receipt, but before we leave base, all receipts have to be, or invoices have to be scanned in. You got to scan them in the right order that you're going to deliver them in because it times you, blah, 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 blah. So it's a fairly simple. I try to keep the orders separate in the back, different parts. I think, I'm going to 3 places. The first place is getting, a rotor. Second place is getting like 4 or 5 different items. I try to keep them in their own little spot. And the third place is only getting a couple of wiper blades or some shit. So the point is, I don't really want to talk about the job. It's what I want to talk about was this video part 3. I got to edit these together. I babble, and it is weird. I'm in a new car, new environment. I'm not used to talking to myself in someone else's vehicle, but I'll get used to it eventually. We were talking Social Security. We were talking, early retirement at 62. We were talking full retirement, mid-60s, but you can't work, or they'll reduce your Social Security benefit payment. And then 72, blah, blah, blah. But for those who are not yet 62, and there's Social Security disability. Those who become disabled. Now, my mother, I want to tell you about, she was fairly healthy most of her life until she was in her 50s. And she was working at this daycare center. And I forget what happened. She collapsed. And they took her to the hospital. No, I think she didn't go to the hospital. I'm not sure if she fainted or she fell over, but they went to the doctor's office. And apparently what had happened was she had been feeling a lot of pain for quite some time. Pain in her joints, ache, that sort of thing. And she was diagnosed with fibromyalgia. And this was probably, this was over 10 years ago. She was in her mid-50s. She's now almost 70. So what happened was she had a pretty good doctor. She went to a rheumatologist. And he documented very well, and she wanted to apply for Social Security disability. Because remember, she wasn't 62, couldn't do an early retirement. She wasn't 65, whatever the magic age is for full retirement. She was probably like 57. She was into her 50s, closer to 60, but not quite there. And, she was working with little kids in a daycare center that was attached to a corporate office building. She was like one of the daycare ladies. And I guess with this fibromyalgia and all the pain and whatnot, she couldn't do it. So she and my father, as well before her stroke, they went to a lawyer for Social Security disability. And the lawyer gave him a free consultation. He said, listen, you got to apply. Now, people who are under the age of 62 but are applying for disability. In other words, for those who don't understand Social Security, or those who are not Americans, disability is like getting your Social Security payment before you hit full retirement age. So it's like, I'm not yet 65, or whatever the magic number is now, 66. So I'm not mid-60s yet. And I don't even want to go to 62, because that would be a lesser amount. If I retire at 62, that's a lesser amount. I'm disabled. I want my full benefits now, as if I'm already 65 or whatever. Even though I'm only 57, I want my full benefits as if I'm 65. So you start paying me now, as if I were full retirement age, because I'm no longer able to work. So that's what Social Security disability is. It's basically getting your full retirement, not your early 62 lesser rate, but your full mid-60s, 65, 67 rate, getting your full rate well before you turn that age. And of course, I'm in my 40s. Who knows? By the time I get to be in my 60s, the full retirement age might be 78 or some bullshit like that, or Social Security might be bankrupt. We might have had a revolution by then. Who knows? But the point is, currently, for those born in the 40s and the 1940s, 1950s, retirement age was 65, and then for those born later in the 50s, it was up to 66, 67. So in my mother's case, I think it would have been 65 for a full retirement, but she was, less than 10 years, but nowhere near 65. She was in her later 50s. And she and my father went and they spoke with this disability lawyer, free consultation. He said, listen, you should apply by yourself first. 99% of the people get denied, but you got to apply first. Then you come to me. And I can argue a case. We can try to build a case You know, but you got to apply first. You got to at least be denied doing it by yourself before you can get a lawyer. So first step, you apply, and if and when you're denied, as 99% of the people are, then you can come back to me and I'll build a case. I'll say she was denied, we want to appeal, and most of these Social Security disability lawyers, they don't collect any payment from you unless they win. If you eventually win, you get approved for SSDI, you get back pay. It's retroactive. Let's say, for argument's sake, we're in the month of June. Let's just say someone won a case. It's the month of June. Your lawyer fought for you. Congratulations, we agree you deserve SSDI. And your date of disability was, I don't know, last October or whatever. So now on paper, it's June of 24. We've determined that yes, you are disabled and your disability began in October of 23. So we're going to pay you all your back wages from October till now. We're going to pay you a big lump sum of back wages, and then every month you get your regular Social Security benefit as if you were retired, as if you were 65 and fully retired. So you get your lump sum from October to June, boom, and then we'll pay you every month on the month, etc. The lawyer will take his cut from that first chunk, that retroactive pay. The lawyer will say, okay, you've been paid October through June. I think it's 20%, or whatever it is. That's my legal fee. If the lawyer loses, he has to eat it. So I guess, like I've talked about this before in other videos, I guess if let's say you have 10 cases and you're fairly confident they're strong cases, you win 7, you lose 3. Well, the money you make from those 7 should be enough to make up for the 3 you lost. It's like you win some, you lose some, but the idea is you want to win more than you lose. So these lawyers take the loss on the few cases, because I guess out of 10 cases, if you're going to win the majority, you can afford the 2 or 3 you lose. But it didn't actually matter in my mother's case, because my mother came home. My parents went to this place, and this disability lawyer, and my mother came home and said to me, "Okay, occupational click. I need to apply, and I want you to help me do it." This was in the mid-2010s. I was in my mid-30s. I forget the exact year, circa 2015, when I was circa 35, something like that. So I said, okay, I'll do that. Actually, let me pull in here. I got to make this delivery. I'm not sure. I haven't actually been to this one yet. We're not too far from my house, actually. And I'm not going to shut this off, because I hate doing that. I'm going to pause it. I'm going to hit pause. Oh, I got to get my little invoice, my little slip here. I got 3 of them. One for each place I'm going to. I gotta make sure I have the right address. This is which garage this is. Make sure the address is correct. And I check the part number. All these invoices tell me the part number. So I gotta just double check. I know which part it is. It's a vapor canister vent. But I'll just make sure the part number on the invoice matches the sticker on the box. And I'll be right back with you. All right, we're back. That was fairly painless. That only took just one little part. I walked in the office. And there's a lady. She took it, gave her the invoice. Blah blah blah. Now on to stop number 2. Point is, I'm doing one of those. What is it called? Like in movies, cut, direct. I could have been gone for 20 minutes for all you know, because I paused the tape. So it's just who knows. And what was I talking about? Oh yeah, I was talking about my mother. So my mother came home. I forget what year it was, my exact age. I was in my mid-30s, mid-2010s. My mother was in her mid to late 50s. And she said, okay, we got to apply. So this is my first foray. It's almost like the world, life, wants me to learn about these things. So I knew nothing about Social Security. I didn't really care. I was in my 30s. I was nowhere near that point. And my mother and even my father weren't at retirement age yet. But because my mother had fibromyalgia, and this lawyer said, you got to apply first, get denied, and then come back to me, I said, okay, I will help you apply. So I can't remember what I did. I wish I had taken better notes, better mental notes or whatever. I remember it was a lot of typing, a lot of writing. I was, of course, a bit more, sentient then. Sentient's the wrong word. A bit more with it. I honestly don't know if I could do it again today. I kind of feel like as I've gotten older, I've gotten wiser for sure. I've definitely gotten a lot of life experience. I'm wiser now. But I feel I'm also getting stupider. Not that I was ever a brilliant anything, but I feel like in my 40s, I'm wiser than I was as a teenager, but I'm not as smart. It's like anything else. I'm not as fast. Jumping a fence hurts. And same thing with the brain. The brain is a muscle. I'm not thinking as fast. Not that I was ever brilliant, but I'm definitely thinking slower than when I was in my teenage years or 20s or 30s. I've noticed that, and a lot of people have a hard time admitting that. Maybe others don't have this problem. I admire those who are in their 80s or 90s and sharp as a tack, but I've noticed, plus life experience in general and all the anxiety and whatnot probably takes its toll, but I don't know if I could do now what I did 10 years ago. But the point is, I took care of all of my mother's crap. She had a bunch of documentation. I think we uploaded some documents, or we gave I forget how it worked. Did we give some information to a rheumatologist and a regular doctor, etc.? All of the doctors had to provide information, and I basically typed up a summary. As if I were my mother, I typed up different summaries. Didn't want to be too verbose, too wordy, but didn't want to be too curt or contrite or too short. So I had to look it over, and I drafted stuff that was, it was concise but articulate. And she said, "Oh wow, I couldn't have written this." I explained, I work with children. My livelihood it requires me, children with a lot of energy due to the results of my fibromyalgia, the limitations of my fibromyalgia. I forget what I said. I feel like I was smarter then than I am now. But long story short, we went through this. It took a long time. We did it online, internet. It took a long time. We had to create a password, all that shit. I think we did it in several stages, and finally we submitted the document. And again, this was over 10 years ago, so I don't remember how much time elapsed. We were anticipating that at some point Social Security would get back and say to my mother, "Sorry, you're denied. We don't think you're disabled." And then she would go to the lawyer. That was the plan. We had to apply for the sake of applying. We did the best we could, hoping for the best. Fingers crossed. Fingers crossed. What the hell? There we go. I had to be careful with my hands. It's a different car. I'm driving a Kia. It's not a Sophia, whatever the fuck this little Korean car is. So I keep hitting the windshield wipers. Anyway, like I said, we did the best we could. We applied, but we anticipated. The expectation was that she would be denied, as most people are. Like 9 out of 10 people are denied for disability claims when they do it themselves. But you got to do it just to say you did it once by yourself, and then get a lawyer. I remember the day my mother got the mail. This is probably several months. I don't recall how long it was. It wasn't a year later, but it was probably some time later, some months later. My mother got the mail, and she was super excited. Instead, we were expecting the letter to say, "Hi, this is Social Security Administration. You've been denied. Now find a lawyer." Instead, it said, "This is Social Security Administration. Congratulations, Mrs. Occupational Click's mother. You've been approved for Social Security disability." And my mother was so happy. She's like, "Wow!" And my father was shocked because no need to go to a lawyer. Crisis averted, hassle averted. It worked. And my mother, basically, she said it was two things. She said, I had a good rheumatologist who documented everything, and I had you, son, because I couldn't have done it by myself. Thank you for doing that. I don't think I could have articulated the way you did. And I think part of it too, though, of course, even though she wasn't near retirement age, or even early retirement age, she was 50 plus. So I think age was on her side. It's easier to say, fine, you're in your 50s, you've been working since you were a teenager, you paid into this. I think it is easier if you're over 50, whereas if you're 40 something, it's like, So I think my mother's age helped, but also her documentation. Basically, we got very lucky. Just like my hero up in Buffalo or Amherst, my mother got it first. She got her disability, her Social Security disability payment, first attempt, first application, no need for a lawyer. She was approved. She applied and was approved. That's rare. Most people don't get that luxury, but my mother got it. And I somehow had the wherewithal and the skill to help get her on it back then. And I didn't know. I couldn't have anticipated that. Well, jump ahead, whatever year that was. I don't remember what year it was. Jump ahead 10 years or so, a decade or so, and this is going to be a big part of your own life. It's almost like society, not society, but I don't know. This is a matrix, the universe. We'll say the quote unquote the universe. The universe was preparing me for this before I even knew. But I guess by driving this shitty delivery job, I'm at least paying back into it. Because again, your benefits rate. Whenever someone, whether they take an early retirement for a lesser rate, or they go to their mid-60s and get their full retirement, or they get disability, whatever it is, your benefit amount is based upon how much you worked and how much you paid into it. There's a whole formula they use. So, for instance, my father makes more in his Social Security payment than my mother does. She makes a few, I'm trying to remember what they're, probably a few $100s more because he worked more than my mother. He paid more into it than actually go straight. He paid more into it than my mother. So his is higher. So your benefit rate is based upon how much you put into it. There's a cap. Now, obviously, if you're a multimillionaire making millions, if you're like that, there's a cap. But if you're a millionaire or billionaire or something, you're not even going to need your Social Security payment. It's just you're entitled to it. But it's like, so basically, how much you work over the course of your life, or X amount. Maybe it's not your whole life, because I don't know, if let's say you're in your 60s, do they really go back to when you're a teenager? They probably go back, if anyone knows, feel free to comment. Do they go back 20 years, 30 years? I don't know what the magic number is, because people retire at different ages, people become disabled at certain ages, and I'd like to know, because this is for me. If I don't wait till I'm in my mid 60s, if I try to get this now, like my mother was, I don't remember the exact year or age. Let's say she was, for argument's sake, she was 57. So they based it upon what, her work history since she was 37 or 40, or did they go back to when she was 16? I don't know. All I know is I could have made a left over there. All I know is somehow there's a calculation and a formula, and they compute your monthly benefit payment will be for life. Now, there's an interesting caveat I wanted to add about my mother, and I guess anybody else who collects disability, who collects their full Social Security payment before their mid-60s. My mother, like I've said, she was eligible at the age of 57, let's say, 57. Now, let's say she hadn't become disabled. Let's say she'd worked till she was in her 60s. At 62, let's say she was healthy, no disability. At 62, she could have taken an early retirement, but she would have gotten a lesser rate. So in an alternate reality where my mother did not become disabled, she kept working, and at the age of 62, she decided, you know what, I want an early retirement. Her payment rate would be less than her disability rate. Her disability rate at 57 was the same as it, well, not quite the same, but comparable to what it would have been had she made it to, had she made it to 65. Now, of course, like we said, it's a formula. So let's say, in alternate reality, my mother didn't have an injury at 57, and somehow she got a really, really, really good job at the age of 57, and then she retired at 62 after working for 5 years at a really, really good job. That would have upped her rate. But basically, long story short, her disability rate at 57 was comparable to what it would have been at full retirement age in her mid-60s. Whereas had she done an early, I don't know if I'm rambling, if this is making sense, had in this alternate reality, my mother is not disabled and she decides to retire at 62, an early retirement. She goes the early route, retires at 62. Her lifelong monthly payment rate would have been lower than her disability rate. So in other words, disability is better than early retirement in most cases. Now, there's more to the story, but I'm here at this place. I don't even know where I'm supposed to drop it off, but we'll do the same thing. We'll hit pause and we'll go from there. Hold on. Action. Yeah, what do you call those things, like in movies? I don't know what it's called. Probably has some simple name. You know the thing. Cut, action, take, whatever you call that thing. Somebody, please, write it in the comments. I would love for someone who doesn't even speak English as a first language to tell me, because I don't know what the, Hollywood movies, cut, take six, whatever you call that thing. But we're back now, on to stop 3. No, with my mother, what was interesting is that, okay, so she, like I was saying, had she retired at 6, had she not become disabled, had she retired early at 62, she probably would have been paid less for life than she would have been paid for, than she has been paid for becoming disabled in her 50s. So in her case, getting disabled in her 50s worked out because she made more from Social Security as a 50-something than she would have had she retired early at 62 had she been healthy. You understand what I'm saying? So yes, my healthy mother in an alternate reality who decided to retire at 62 would be making less than my crippled mother of this reality with her fibromyalgia. But what happened, when my mother did turn 62, nothing changed. She was still on disability, SSDI, Social Security Disability Insurance. So 62 early retirement age had no bearing on her. She became disabled in her 50s, and she just collected her monthly Social Security disability payment. At the age of 62, nothing changed. When my mother finally did reach full retirement age, when she hit 65, she got a letter from Social Security Disability saying, okay, just so you know, nothing changes. Your monthly benefit rate is the same, but now technically it's no longer disability. You've reached full retirement age, so now it's just regular Social Security, as if you had retired at 65. So again, she became disabled at 57, got her monthly payment every month since that age. 62, early retirement age, nothing happened, had no bearing on her. She was disabled. So she was disabled from the age of 57, let's say. I don't remember the exact 57 until she turned 65. Once she reached full retirement age, Social Security said, okay, congratulations. Nothing changes. Same monthly amount, same benefit payment. Nothing changes. It's just that now on paper you're no longer disabled because you're of full retirement age. No one who is 64, whatever the age is now, 65, 66, no one who's of full retirement age can get SSDI because you're eligible for just regular Social Security. And that's what happened with my father. When he had his stroke, despite being, crippled, disabled, because he was over the age of 65, you don't apply for disability, you just apply for full retirement, which he could have done had he not been disabled. That's what gets me. That's what I was trying to get at. He could have gotten the same amount, whether crippled or not, at the age of 66. He had a stroke. But if you can go back in time, crystal ball, retired at 65. Makes no difference. At least this way you're not crippled yet. In fact, maybe the stroke would have been prevented because you've been working as much. So that's what I'm trying to impress. What I'm trying not impress upon you people. Trying to explain, mainly for my own benefit, but I want to share with the world for whoever wants to listen to this shit. It's like, because my father was at full retirement age when he became disabled, he wasn't qualified for disability. He was qualified for just regular, let's take 3, take 4, whatever the hell take this is. Yeah, no, I babble because, no one, like when you go to school, no one teaches you this shit. It's kind of stuff you got to learn in life yourself. And no one ever taught me. I had to figure all this out by myself. But I've had experience with getting my mother on SSDI. Then getting my father signed up for regular Social Security, just regular, Social Security retirement payment. Because as I said, for my parents' generation, it was 65 for full retirement, 62 for early. My mother became disabled in her 50s, and when she hit 60, got approved for SSDI first try, helped her sign up for it, and when she hit 65, she transitioned from disabled on paper to just retired, old, same amount. My father, of course, had his stroke after the age of retirement. So disability doesn't apply at that point. It's like, okay, you're 66 years old. You could have retired at 65. You didn't. You didn't collect Social Security. You kept working. Okay, well, you didn't sign up for it. Okay, well, now you're disabled. You need Social Security. There's no disability. You just sign up for your regular, that's the funny thing. Like, in an alternate reality, had my father signed up for Social Security a month before his stroke, he would have gotten the same amount as after his stroke because he was already over the age of disability. He was at the age of full retirement. So it would make no difference. If you can go back in time, and I could tell my father a month before his stroke, apply for Social Security disability now. No, I'm sorry, apply for regular Social Security now. But I want to keep working. I want to keep working. No, apply now because in a month from now you're gonna have a stroke. You're gonna end up all, and you can get the same rate. I'm gonna have to sign you up anyway, so you can get the same rate next month as you get this month if you fucking sign up right now. So I'm just trying to impart this upon anybody, if especially if you're an American and you're younger, because when I was a teenager in my 20s, I didn't know anything about this. You hear old folks talk about, I get my Social Security, and it didn't mean anything. Just, okay, you're old, you get paid something for it. It didn't mean anything to me. But if you're in your 20s or 30s and your parents are getting up there in years, and you might be facing similar circumstances, hopefully you glean something from all my babbling. Hopefully something I said will click with you and you'll remember, oh, shit, mom, fell off the roof and broke her back. She can never work again. Let's sign her up for Social Security disability. She's paid into it. But wait. Mom's 69 years old, 70 years old. She's too old for disability. Let's sign her up for regular, just regular full retirement Social Security. No, but wait, why didn't she sign up when she was eligible, when she turned whatever age it is, 67? Why did she wait this long? So you'll be able to think. And if someone is under the age of 62, or even if you're over 62, Because I wonder, how does that work? Now I'm curious. Maybe someone can answer my question. Let's say you're between the ages of 62, which is early retirement, and 67, which is full retirement, whatever the new age is. You're in that magic bracket. You're old enough to retire early, but you get the lesser rate, but you're not old enough for full benefit rate. So you're in that gray area. And you haven't done anything yet. You're still working. You say, okay, I'm 62, 63. I could retire early, draw Social Security, but, do I want to do that? Do I want to keep working, get the higher amount when I turn 67? Okay, so you're there, and all of a sudden, boom, you have something happens. You have a stroke, you have fibromyalgia, you have whatever. Now you're in that magic bracket. Can you still get SSDI? Because you can argue, hey, I know I can retire. I know I'm old enough to technically retire. I'm over 62, but that would be an early retirement. My plan was to keep working until I hit full retirement age at 67. But now I'm, 63, 64, and I become crippled and unable to work. Do I have to take an early retirement, or can I still qualify? I'd imagine you could qualify for SSDI, disability, which would be the higher rate. And then once you do hit the age of majority, the age of full retirement, you would just then like my mother did, you would transition from disability, Social Security disability, to just regular Social Security. I would imagine, but I'm not sure. They might, I don't know. Does Social Security force you to take an early retirement in a lesser rate? I don't know. Because once you retire, let's say you retire early at 62, you get that lesser amount. That's what you're stuck with for life. So if you live to be 105, you're only going to get your monthly payment of that lesser rate at 62. That's why people push themselves for full rate. They say, geez, if I retire at 62, I don't have to work, Social Security will pay me, but it's a lesser rate for life, for the rest of my life. If I choose to retire at 62, this is all I'm going to get for the rest of my life. Whereas if I go to 67, or whatever the magic number is now, if I go to the new magic number, I'll get a higher rate when I retire, and that'll last me. In case I do live to be 105, I'll get paid more per month, substantially, hundreds, if not maybe even $1,000 more than if I take that early retirement at 62. Because once you retire early at 62, you're locked in that for life. That's what I want to explain, because I didn't clarify. If you're not understanding how it works, if you're 62 and you decide to retire at a lesser rate, when you hit the age of majority, the age of full retirement, you don't get an increase. You don't get a bump. Yes, Social Security, over the years, you'll get I'm babbling. Social Security, your rate is determined by the federal government, and every year, maybe not every year, but every few years, you might get a slight increase. But your ultimate rate, you're ultimately, I think that's what I'm trying to say. I'm babbling. So if you retire at 62, your Social Security will go up very slightly. It'll be slight. It's like getting a little pay raise. You work a job, every year or so we'll give you a little 5-10 cent raise. Oh, whoop-de-doo. Same thing. Your Social Security rate will go up, yes, but not dramatically. It'll go up by tens of dollars, maybe $100 some odd if you're lucky. It'll go up incrementally over the years. But if you wait to full retirement age, you start out at a much higher rate. So that's what it is. So if you retire at 62, I misspoke. Your rate won't stay exactly the same for the rest of your life. It will go up incrementally, but we're talking fractions. We're talking virtual pennies at this point. So essentially, if you retire early at 62, you'll get paid a much lesser rate than if you retire at the full age of majority, whatever it is, the age of full retirement, 67. So that's the incentive to keep working past 62, is that when you do retire, you'll get a much higher Social Security payment. Whereas if you become disabled before any of that, you get calculated as if you're at full retirement age. If you're working like a dog all throughout your life, and in your 50s you become disabled, they calculate your disability rate as if you're 65 or 67 or whatever. They calculate the rate as if you're at full age of, I'm calling it the age of majority. They calculate your rate as if you're at the age of majority. Whereas if you retire early at 62, you get a lesser rate, and you get locked in with that. You might get slight increases over the years, but you're locked in at a much lesser pay rate. So the goal is either, well, I'm not knocking early retirement. If you're comfortable and you have money saved up, or you live cheap and you don't care and you're tired of working, I'm not knocking retiring early at 62. I'm just saying the incentive to keep working is to get that higher payment rate from Social Security when you hit the age of majority, or become disabled well before your 60s, and then get paid as if you are already 65. Get paid for life, slight increases. Get paid for life at the full age. I can't believe this is what I'm doing. I'm driving around talking about Social Security. well, I guess it's good to get this. These things are in my mind. I'm thinking about them, as well as many other things. But wonder how many of y'all, you guys, can dox me. Can you find out where I am? It's not top secret. I don't give a shit. But maybe you can look on Google Maps and see the route I'm taking and the places I stopped and what highway I'm on and where I am, and say, you can drag your little guy to the little map and say, oh yeah, occupational click. He went to that garage or that fucking tire place. Oh yeah, I recognize that intersection. Hey, I know that we every hour on the hour we do a transfer. What happens is, picture like a brigade. You picture like a fire brigade. Everyone's you get a bucket, you hand the bucket to the next guy, hands the bucket to the next guy. We do a brigade kind of thing where there's a store east of here. They bring us a bunch of shit. We keep what we need, and then we take stuff to the next store west of here. You understand what I'm saying? They say, okay, we're east of you guys. You need some shit. The next guy down further west of you needs some shit. We're not going to drive to both. We'll pass off to you. So we're coming from the east. We'll go west. We'll drop it off at your place. You keep what you need, and you take the rest of the shit further west. Like a trade-off. We pass the baton. So every hour on the hour, the location east of us drops some shit off, and not necessarily. If there's really nothing, they don't come. But it's set up that every hour on the hour, we're supposed to get a delivery from our sister store to the east, and we might then have to take some supplies, some shit, to our sister store to the west. Some of the stuff we take to them, like I said, the eastern guy says, here, half this shit is for you, the other half is for the next store. But also there's stuff that we might have. We got a warehouse. Some of the stuff we have in supply, our sister store to the west might need. So we pick the items we need. So we say, okay, the eastern guy came, he dropped off the shit, we take what we need. Some of the stuff has to go west, but west called us up and they want a few other items in addition. So okay, so we'll take the stuff that the eastern guy passed off to us, and we'll take some of the shit that we have in stock that the western guy needs, and we do a run every hour or so. And I don't know if it's because I'm new, they don't really put me on this run, but the run is nice because it's a good from our store to our sister store to the west. Not quite an hour, maybe over half an hour, 45 minutes there, 45 minutes back. So it's a good way to kill a couple hours. So I'd love to, if I get, what do they call it, a transfer? If I do a transfer to our sister store to the west, I could just talk and bullshit for a couple hours, make a video. But then again, does anyone watch a video that long? I don't know. But it would be nice to go for a drive, not have to worry about, instead it's like, I'm being tired, I dropped off these three, got to get back. If I really had to, I could stop, take a piss, stop, get something to eat if I really, really wanted to, but it's frowned upon because they're timing you. The car has a little GPS tracking thing. I don't think they know exactly where I am, but they have a vague idea. And when I get back to base, there's a little transmitter. When the car drives by the transmitter, it alerts the computer. Okay, he's back, ride is over, and they can calculate your time. So if I decide, you know what, it's slow, there's probably not going to be a delivery for another 20 minutes, let me just go park and, twiddle my thumbs. If I do that, even though it's not going to affect anything because there's no deliveries right now, it's still going to screw up my time because I must get back to base. There's a little transmitter right by the, not quite the front door, it's on the side of the building, right by base. And I must, when I'm all done with my deliveries, I must get back to that transmitter so that the unit in the car can talk to the unit on the side of the building, can talk to the computer and say, okay, he's back, ride is over. Whereas if I stop somewhere and kill 20 minutes, they're going to say he's still on the road. This is still part of why is it taking him so long to deliver? He needs to get back so that his transponder can click with our transponder, the car transponder can talk to the the building transponder, and the computer can see that, okay, ride complete, battleship sunk. So well, it's good. I haven't made a video in a while. It's good to talk. These videos aren't particularly interesting, but they're for me. What is this guy doing? Florida. He's got Florida plates. I don't know if you can see that. Can I scroll in? Can you see? He's got Florida. Oh, watch. I'm going to drop this. Florida. And you see on the internet, Florida man did this. Florida man slit his wife's throat. Florida man. And people joke, oh, who is this Florida man? He sounds like quite a character. Florida. Okay. one of the cool things about this job, even though it's frowned upon, I can vape. No one gives a shit. So I'm driving around, I'm taking a puff on my vape. I wouldn't do that right in the parking lot back at base, the warehouse, but driving around, who gives a shit? It's like no one bothers me. It's like that's one of the things, like, you know, always, like, even when I worked, like, you know, in a grocery store, even though I was fairly independent, you're still, like, bound to others. And even in this, I mean, like any job, but it's nice. Like, most of the time, it's me, myself, and I. Even like at a grocery store, I might be in an aisle by myself, but there's other people. They might come up and say, "Can you help me do this? Can you help me do that?" You got to interact with other people. You know. I don't like being watched. People are watching me. Here, I'm just sort of on my own. No one, you know. So I do like. It's not a bad job. You know, I enjoy it. Maybe I should have done this years ago. It's not bad, but it's, you know, it's probably not going to pay. I won't know. You know, I started a couple weeks ago, so I won't get my first paycheck till this Friday because it's every 2 weeks. So I worked, yeah, you got to work 2 weeks, and then the third week you get the paycheck for the 2 before. They pay long story short. So this is week 3. I'm in week 3, and Friday is payday for the first 2 weeks work. So I'll see how we do, but it's just, we'll see how this is. At least good to have something on paper. And again, to pay into all those government monies, you know, you got to pay into them. Or at the very least, you got to show. You can't say, "Hi, I've never worked, I want to collect Social Security." You got to pay into it. Or, "Hi, I'm a lazy bum, but I want to collect unemployment." Well, if you've never worked, you don't get anything. I know people have said that, you know, unemployment, you're getting more than you pay into it sometimes. Like people who earn more pay more into it, and people who, you know, get fired from a retail job get a higher rate. But blah blah. But long story short, regardless of how much you pay into it, you got to work to get unemployment. You got to work to get Social Security. You got to work to get temporary disability. So it's good to have some documentation, some, you know, government documentation saying, yes, he worked. He's got hours logged in. He's got W-2s. So that's what that's my goal, is to work a bit and get some, you know, some documentation of monies of working. You know, I guess I don't want to be talking to myself when I pull into this place. Let's end this. 37 minutes is a good run. If you got through this video and the other 2 videos, thank you. Maybe I'll do a 4th video in a bit, maybe not. I don't know, but I haven't done videos in a while. It's refreshing. Let's get the ball rolling. So thank you if you watched all of this or the other 2. La 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 la.